ladies and gentlemen, with the show that is starting off the month with another late-night foolhardy session of laughter, only known as Music Village. And two things before we go into this next part of the show, folks. Hopefully by next week, we can finally be back to our regularly scheduled programming. And secondly, we just remembered one of the jokes we made during that movie. And I got a feeling that Lady Macbeth's marriage is now on the rocks. Thanks, Maestro, because I know somebody at home probably threw fruit or some form of rotten vegetable at the screen now. But besides people throwing away rotten vegetables and fruits at me, most likely like Fozzie during an episode of The Muppets, I'm looking at my watch right now. Oh, it's just about that time. It's the witching hour, which means it's time for us to be brought up to speed with this just in news from this week, from, you guessed it, all around the world. And in our first This Just In news story, fresh off the presses, it looks like Secret Squirrel has finally decided to retire from being a secret agent and is now living his life comfortably in his tree house outside the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. And as for his assistant, Morocco Mole, he decided to go and live comfortably underground underneath the tree that Secret Squirrel is currently living in. And it's been also announced alongside with that, there will be a brand new movie released along with his retirement party entitled The Life and Times of Secret Squirrel. Now, originally we thought it was going to be a movie based on, I guess, a secret agent like James Bond film, but it's a documentary. But there's also rumors speculating that he will team up with James Bond in the next movie following No Time to Die, entitled No Time to Live. Good balance. And in other news, for you fans out there of Josie and the Pussycats, they have finally decided to release their brand new album entitled Catnip, that will be released as of next week due to the record company that called Giggle Tunes that has finally decided to pick them up on a productive label. Now, originally they were an unsigned band, but after Giggle Tunes picked them up, they've now become a signed band and has to release an album every 4 years? Yeah, according to their record label, once every 4 years, Josie and the Pussycats have to release a mandated album, so Catnip is their first one, and after that, String Mouse to come out in another 4 years. I don't know what that album will entail, but we will be listening close for when it comes out. And in more This Just In news, breaking news from the world of Mystery Inc. They've decided to get back together one more time after the whole Blair Witch incident and even after the Amityville horror incident we mentioned last year to team up to find out the mystery of the haunted houses of the Paranormal Activity related tapes, and said that they will find out who in the world is trying to evict these people from these houses and unmask them once and for all. And Scooby, or was it Fred Jones or Scooby? According to the Maestro, Fred Jones believed that it's Professor Hyde White who is behind the whole crime scene, but unfortunately Professor Hyde White has been in prison and incarcerated for the past 15 years. Because along with what he did in the museum with stealing precious art, he has been found guilty of also smuggling drugs inside of those said artwork pieces. Who knew? And in our final This Just In breaking news, folks, it appears that Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog has finally decided once again, after a rocky relationship over the past couple of years, to settle their differences and tie the knot once again and get married in holy matrimony. Now, unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, their wedding had to be taken place inside of a giant oversized glass bubble. And the person inside of that giant bubble who was able to be the minister for this said wedding would be none other than the legend himself, Pauly Shore. Now, granted, they would have gotten anybody who was a person who was on the Muppet Show, but yeah, they weren't able to attend it. But I will say this, during the reception, they did have Electric Mayhem playing their classic hits on stage for the wedding of Miss Piggy and Kermit the Frog. Now, I don't know how long this marriage will last this time, but I have my fingers crossed that it will last a lot longer than the marriage they had prior. And with all those regular news stories out of the way for this week, folks, you guys at home know what time it is. It's time for us to go into yet another edition of Video Game News.
3, 2, 1, go.
And in our first video game news story, for you martial arts fans out there and fans of the classic game WMAC Masters, it's been announced this week from the company of Midway Games and Atari that they finally decided to come out with a video game version of the classic TV series of WMAC Masters, with all of your favorite characters featured in it, all the way from Tsunami to Machine, and even other characters that you could be in this said game that plays sort of like Double Dragon. Now, the release date of this said game has been announced that it will be released within the next 5 weeks from today, which is a pretty cool, exciting date that they decided to pick for this said game. And in my opinion, once I get my hands on this game, I know the first person I'm gonna pick is Tsunami. I would have picked Machine since he was in Mortal Kombat, technically in Mortal Kombat, but, I have to go with my boy Tsunami. It's a thing. It has to happen. And in other video game news, it's been announced as of this past week, Glass Joe, the weakest fighter in the video game of Punch-Out, has officially been announced to be inducted into the World-Class Arcade Boxing Hall of Fame. And the only reason he's being inducted is with a 0-137 loss record and still able to get up and fight. They decided to give him the award for having not only a glass jaw, but a golden heart for still being able to fight after that many knockouts and not have any form of brain damage. So congratulations to Glass Joe for getting that beautiful nomination. And along with him going into the Boxing Hall of Fame in the arcade form will be none other than Afro Thunder and Tank Thrasher from the video games Ready to Rumble. And no, Maestro is not related to the movie Ready to Rumble, but in exciting news on that front, it has also been announced that the next big wrestling game that is going to hit the States will involve the classic triple cage match inside of one of the games. Nice! Now, the question is, how in the world they're going to get that top cage with all the weapons that are going to have guitars and other crazy things in, because I don't think they'll be able to pull it off. And as a matter of fact, I think WCW Mayhem should have had it included in it, but it was before their time, because I think the triple cage finally made its debut somewhere around 2000, if my memory serves me correct. And in other video game news, and hot off the presses straight from the Mushroom Kingdom, it looks like after this week, Mario and Peach has finally decided to leave the Mushroom Kingdom and make their way to New York City to have their own castle built inside the realms of New York City. Now, a lot of people are wondering with how much space they have left in New York City, where in the world they're gonna build it. according to sources, they're going to build it right directly next to the Statue of Liberty. Oh, well, hopefully they got permission from the mayor to build it over there, and at the same time, they said they would not need to build it because it will be transported there directly thanks to a whole bunch of paratroopers that will deliver it over the next 12 weeks. So it's gonna take them 12 weeks to fly that thing over there? Jesus! Well, hopefully those paratroopers are well hydrated and well fed as they make their transatlantic trip or cross-Atlantic trip to try to make their way on over to bring Princess Peach's castle to Manhattan. And as a matter of fact, we've also been informed that they're going to make a movie based off their travel called Princess Peach Takes Manhattan. I can't wait to see it in theaters. I only wonder who in the world they're gonna get to play Princess Peach. Oh, we're getting word it's gonna be Kate Beckinsale playing Princess Peach, and the man to play Mario, none other than Danny DeVito. Oh, nice. I don't know how in the world he's gonna pull off the role, and here's hoping that they have John Leguizamo as Luigi once again in the said film. Even though it's gonna be awkward that the original Mario is no longer among us, he can still pull it off. Oh, and we're getting word, folks, that Bullet Bill will be a part of that transportation process, cutting down the time by at least a good 5 days. Nice. And I guess with all those news stories out of the way for this week, folks, fresh off the presses and this just in, you all officially for this week have been brought up to speed. And I guess with that said, we might as well head back into this music, and when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Music Village for this week, right after this. So don't go to that fridge for that primetime late night snack just yet, folks, and stay tuned.